Hello everyone, welcome to our Federated Search YouTube live event. My name is Quentin and I'll be your host in today's session. Federated Search is a three-part series. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about what Federated Search is and how do you activate it in your SmartSuite or TV4Education platform. So let's get started and have a look at what is federated searching. So federated search is basically the ability to put in one search into one search bar and have the system return results from multiple data sources on your behalf. Obviously, this is going to be a great time-saving feature because it means that you're not having to go off to multiple browser tabs to gain results from independent data sources. For example, if I were doing a Shakespeare assignment, I could do some research by opening up Google and typing in Shakespeare. And I can see some of the results from there. I could then open up another tab and browse to the Gutenberg database. And I could find some additional resources from here. I can branch out a little bit further. Re-execute the same search again. See some resources from here. And again with ProQuest. Now, already just with this particular example that we're looking at here, we can see a number of issues. The first one is multiple tabs with multiple data sources, and we had to re-execute that same search each time. The next thing that you will identify is that every time I go to a data source, the look and feel of that website is completely different. So here's Google, and I've got all the results down the left-hand side with my search bar at the top. When I go over to Gutenberg, all the results are now across the page and my search bar is in the top right-hand corner. Britannica, again, a little bit different, as is ProQuest. And the features and the functions on each of those different websites are going to be different for the end user. Now, one of the other things that federated search allows you to do is to control authentication on behalf of your users. So for some of these websites that require authentication to gain additional resources or access to different databases, you can actually plug the authentication into the SmartSuite Federated Search, therefore not requiring your users to log in to each of these individual sites by themselves in order to access the material. So this same search that we've done here can look like this. So executed our search once. I can see results from my school's library collection. I can see my results from Google. I can see my results from the Gutenberg project and from all the others that have been configured by my library or TV4Education administrator. Now again, all of the search results are in the same format, so I'm not having to learn or identify the differences on the different websites that I'm trying to access this information on. And I don't need to put in a username or password to access any of the articles from any of these data sources. It's already been configured. So once I open up the article, or once I open up the search results, sorry, takes me straight to the article, and I can interact either with that article or I can download the material like you see here with the Gutenberg project. So federated search is not only going to save you and your users time, it's going to give them access to more content because you don't have to publish. Here is the URL, the username and password for all of these 13 subscriptions that the school has. And you'll find out in episode 3 of this series some of the additional features that we provide for you as part of the SmartSuite and TV4Education platform. Now, before we get down to all of these smart features that we're going to talk to you about in that later episode, let's have a chat about how to actually start configuring your subscriptions into your platform. So the first thing that we need to do is to navigate to the page that we would like to configure our federated search onto. Okay, so this is my schools collection page. Now, before we ever make any changes on any page, the first thing we have to do is enter into the page settings mode. So we're going to do that by clicking on System menu and selecting Page Settings. And you'll know that you're in page settings mode because all the widgets go a solid block color and your shortcuts bar at the top now goes into the config mode. The next thing we want to do is we want to place a second search results container onto this page so that we can configure it to the federated search. The results container that's already on the page has already been configured to look at our library database. So we want to add a second one so we can configure that as our federated search. Okay, so we go back to our page settings and we're going to go to our page builder because we're going to build the page with a few extra widgets. Now this ribbon at the top here is showing you all the widgets which are currently available to your platform. So we're going to go ahead and select results container. And the system is going to confirm that we've selected it by displaying the image down the bottom. Once that has happened, we can click Append to Page. That's now applied or appended that widget to the page here, and the settings for that widget has popped out on the right hand side. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to change the container type from database search to federated search. Now, as you can see, we've got a few widgets on the page, and we've also got a results container and a second results container. To help us identify which container we're looking at, we can add a description. So we can put in here, federated search Google. Down in our search areas, we have a list of federated search data sources that have already been configured on this particular platform. And that means we've put in the username and password, we've put in our connection strings, we have selected the database or concordances. Okay, if on your platform this list is blank, what we need to do is we need to go to Configure Search Area. And you'll see this window pop up here. Now, if you're inserting one from scratch, ensure that the first field here is on New Search Area. The next field will be the federated search area that you're wanting to configure. So if we're wanting to connect with a EBSCO data source, for example, we select EBSCO, and the fields will change accordingly. So we can give it a name, okay. We give it the URL. Now, with some of the federated search areas, you will have to contact the provider and ask them if there's anything that you need to do in your account to search via federated search through SmartSuite. Some providers, like EBSCO, will get you to set up an EIT profile. Some of the other data sources will ask you for your IP range, and they'll do all the authentication based on IP. If you're not 100% sure of how your database connects to SmartSuite, submit a ticket through the mailbox and we can help you out with exactly what you need to ask from the different vendors. Once you've inserted your URL, if the data source requires it, you can insert your institution's username and institution's password. Now, this is going to mean that your individual users don't have to put in their own username and password each time they search. And then you can also specify the database from the provider that you would like to connect to. Once you've inserted all those details, you click Save, and that data source will then appear in the list. Once it's in this list here, you click on the entry and click Attach Search Area. Now, this federated search is currently configured to Google. So if I save that container settings, you can see that my description has now appeared. I can grab the bottom right-hand corner, click and drag it to make it a little bit bigger. I can grab the bottom left-hand corner to move it, and then I can click Save. It's going to ask, do you want to refresh? We go OK. Okay, I can now do a search. I've got all the results from my libraries collection. And if I scroll down the page, I've now configured my Google Federated Search onto my schools collection page. Now, if we need to make any changes to the federated search, let's say we want to add another data source to this federated search container, we just need to follow those initial steps that we saw before. So the first thing is enter into page settings. The widgets now go into edit mode, and instead of adding another container to this page, all we do is we scroll down to our results container, our federated search results container, and we click on Edit Widget. We can change the description. We're no longer going to be searching just Google. We can change it to federated search. We go down to our search areas. We select Gutenberg and attach. And we can also do the same thing with Wikipedia. We save those settings. We save the page. And if I just re-execute our search again, we've now got our library collection at the top, but this time we've got a federated search container that has our Google results, our Gutenberg results, and our Wikipedia results. So configuring a federated search container to a page is very simple. Page settings and then page builder. Going and adding additional search areas to an existing container is as easy as hitting Edit Widget and selecting the search areas from here. Now, if at any time you need to make any changes to the configuration of these search areas. Let's say that your username and password has changed, or you're no longer subscribing to the reference database with EBSCO, but you're looking at a different database or a different database with that vendor. You can go back to your configure search area and you can pull up the settings of an existing engine. So if we go and we pull up our Gutenberg, that's going to show us the existing settings that are within the database. Okay, if we go to Google, it's showing us the same information. So if I was to select on any of these other data sources here, you'd be able to see the EIT profile, connection string, you'd be able to see the usernames and passwords, and we can make any changes to those search areas that we need to. Once you have made your changes, you can click Update, save the container settings, save the page settings, and all of that, or all of those changes that you have made on your computer will automatically be reflected on all the other devices that are globally around the world. So if you currently have a group of exchange students in the US, they cannot search EBSCO because the username and password is wrong. You log on, you make the changes. As soon as you hit save, over in the US on their mobile phones, the search will start appearing. So there's no need to wait for any refresh time. All they need to do is just start searching after you click save. Now that is the introduction to Federated Search. That's episode 1. Episode 2, we're going to do a little bit more on how to customize the Federated Search to get the best scenario for your school. So we have some schools that run the Federated Search like this, where you've got a very obvious container that's just looking at your library, and then a separate container that's showing all of the external data sources that are available. We have some schools where they have one page that is dedicated to the library resources and another page which is all of the external data sources. And we have some schools that run a bit of a hybrid of different scenarios. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that in episode 2, which is going to be aired next week. Episode 3, we're going to start talking about some of the features which are available right now and have been available for the last 12 months to 18 months. And that's going to give you as administrators a bit more functionality, as well as your users a bit more collaboration. So make sure that you tune in for both of those episodes appearing next week and also the week after. I hope you really enjoyed today's Federated Search. As always, if you do have any questions, do not hesitate to open up your mailbox and send us a support ticket. Our customer service team are always on hand and are always happy to give you some assistance in setting up your Federated Search or answering any of your questions. But as we said, make sure that you tune in to next week's session. My name is Quentin, and I hope you have a great rest of the day.